Hello everyone, welcome to our Let's Play series of The Outer Worlds. I'm Colonel RPG, and I'm very happy to have you here with me exploring the... actually, what is the name of this? Oh, The Unreliable, of course. And we found this last episode. It's Sam. Sam, you don't mind if I steal your thing? Kick me. Oh yeah, I got this. Created for a prank. Sam wore this sign for a week before Ada noticed and pointed it out to the janitorial unit. Oh, Sam is the janitorial unit. Who placed it on the unit, however, remains a mystery. Yes, considering that we have been here for a few hours. There's no response from the automechanical unit. A serial number etched in its chassis includes the letters Sam. Oh, but there's a quest. Something happened on the upper right corner of the screen. The cleaning machine. You found a defunct sanitation and maintenance automechanical in the supply closet upstairs and on the Unreliable. A cursory search of the unit reveals the name Sam, but little else. Ada may know more. Yep, we're going to talk to Ada in a little bit. Let's talk to Max first, because we didn't do that. Hey, Max, what's up?
I find myself marveling at the complex simplicity of the Fibonacci spiral. I'm sure you know what that's like.
I'm sure.
Something vexing you, Captain?
If you don't know what a Fibonacci spiral is, it's the root... No, not the root. It is the result of the golden ratio. Or is it the opposite around? The golden ratio is the result of the Fibonacci spiral. Look it up. There's a channel on YouTube that has many videos about it called Numberphile. Look it up. It's pretty good. And they talk about everything and the Fibonacci numbers and all many things that result out of that. One of the videos that I liked the most about it is one where they talk about the perfect distribution of dots around a center, around a point, and you can see, and that explains why you can see the Fibonacci spiral in things like a sunflower seeds and stuff like that, which is really cool. But anyway, lose yourself in mathematical bliss in that channel, because there's so many things in there. I'd like to know about those I'm flying with. What's your story?
Nothing too out of the ordinary. Just your run-of-the-mill vicar with a violently enthusiastic disposition.
That's a quote? What?
That's what my parents called it. I grew up in a pit of a town much like Edgewater. I was destined to be a laborer like my parents, but I was infected early with a need to solve the equation. My passion didn't sit well with them.
Why were you so passionate about it?
My parents, ironically. They internalized the precepts of scientism like no one I've ever known. They had a pure faith, a faith that brought joy to them regardless of the situation. I envied that. I wanted that peace. I thought if I became a vicar, I could find it. Or at the very least, find out why I lacked it.
But weren't they proud when you became a vicar at least?
They thought I was fighting the plan, should have accepted my lot. Some people pursue the clergy for power, prestige, but that was not me.
What's this plan you keep talking about?
The simple version is this. The force which we call the Grand Architect created the universal equation that underlies and defines everything in the universe. Everything flows from the equation, or in layman's terms, the grand plan. Is the Grand Architect a consciousness? A natural force? Did it create the equation on purpose? The answers to these questions don't really matter. The equation, the plan, is all that matters. Contentment is found by accepting one's role in the plan.
I like that it's a philosophical offshoot of a science-based understanding of the universe that still manages to put creationism in there, so makes it a little bit more palatable as a religion to our world, I suppose, because you don't need creationism for a religion. You don't need anything for a religion apart from the dogma. Which is, of course, contrary to science, because dogma and science is the opposite of each other. But the point is, I like that it has the creation of the equation that where the universe comes from, which is interesting because it's an easy misunderstanding of causation No, is it cause and effect? I think it is. That's the one. Because equations or laws of physics, they're understandings. They're simplifications of observation. And they're always meant to be that, and there's no other way around them. It's when you make E equals mc squared, that's not you didn't find the root. You didn't find the cause of the universe. You didn't find an equation that causes the universe. You found a simplification that explains the universe, the way the universe actually works. The reason why the universe works like that? Well, maybe there is no reason. It just does. Maybe there's no cause for that. It just does. And maybe you should be looking as to why there is no cause, if you want real reasons. But maybe those are just inaccessible to us as members of this universe. But the confusion of finding, or specifically of understanding the laws of physics as immutable, in the sense of everything has to obey by them, that is a very easy thing that to come into. That's a very easy mistake to make if you're not very familiar with physics and science in general, and if you're a layman, I suppose. I've seen some people make that mistake in sort of understanding the laws of physics as discovered rather than invented. I think that's another way of putting it as well. You don't actually discover a law of physics. You discover gravity in the sense of making experiments that prove gravity exists. But then after that, after you make those experiments, which are not necessarily easy to make and come across, then that's why Newton was a very good mathematician and physician. Not physician, what's the word? Physicist, that's the word. And after you discover that, after you discover gravity, which sounds ridiculous, doesn't it, to us? Well, it didn't sound ridiculous at the time. After you discover that, you need to make the equations. You need to come up with the rules. And those are your doing. Those are absolutely your simplifications of the universe. And there are rules in the universe that were super complicated before somebody else came around and just made a simpler one, including stuff that Newton himself simplified. I think there's some stuff about that. So that's an interest. This is a very. I think this. What I mean by this whole thing is that this scientism business is very well done, and I think it's done in a way that makes it possible for our understanding of our own religions and our understanding of our own science, for those two understandings to coexist in a way that is not jarring. So this scientism business is cool. I like it. Not that I would subscribe to it if I were in this setting, because, well, of what I said before, dogma and science are opposites, and he comes straight forward with a dogma. Because if I ask him, how do you know? Like, he can tell me how he knows. Like, the proving that something is a dogma is not when somebody says, I don't know how I know, I just know. That's not what something is a dogma. Something can be a dogma and still be derived from something else. And you can say, I know this because I read it in a book. And that still is a dogma, not the believing it in the book. It's still got a reason. And he can have absolutely a reason to know why or how, or, to know that the universe is created from the Grandmaster and whatever. But the analyzing of that reason, the asking of the question, how do you know, is meant to analyze the reason and be like, no, this is not a valid reason. That is the point. That's the point of defining a dogma. And science, that's the point of science as well. When somebody makes a claim, you need to ask, how do you know? And they say, well, I made these experiments, and if you make these experiments, they work the same, and I've done a bunch, and the calculations check out, and I can't really come up with any other idea around why this wouldn't be how I say it is. And the other scientist that asked, how do you know? The other scientist is going to go, oh, that makes sense, but what if this? And then they make an experiment, and it doesn't check out, and they're like, okay, well, your theory makes sense. I guess that's how it is. Let's find out in 100 years that apparently it's not quite as you say it, because that's how science works. Anyway, if you can't help but follow the plan, then everything you do is part of it, right? Ooh, this connects to my ramble of last episode about quantum physics and whatnot.
The plan is not one rigid path. There are a variety of multitudes contained within it. Our paths have variance, but we'll end up adhering to it, whether we like it or not. Some choices make the path smoother, some rougher. You can even go outside the lines, but the further outside you go, it's like an unbreakable elastic band. It will only stretch so far before it snaps back. The further it is stretched, the more violent the eventual correction.
That's an interesting... That's not what I thought it was gonna be. That's not... I didn't... Yeah, I mentioned free will last episode because I thought that was gonna be what it's all about, but it's sort of not. Yeah, it's interesting. It seems quite trusting of you to just sign on without knowing anything about me. Oh, I'm changing the subject. Let's not change the subject immediately. Remind me, what are your thoughts on philosophy? Oh no, that's the French things. Yeah, tell me kind of again about the book we picked up that is in French.
Baconu, the author, had some interesting theories about man's perception of reality that I thought could be applied to our attempts to decipher the plan. Unfortunately, he was also one of the founders of the philosophist school of thought, so the book is banned in this colony.
Remind me, what are your thoughts on the philosophists?
Philosophism's a false religion that stands in contradiction to almost everything we know to be true. They believe all is chaos, in stark contrast to OSI's belief in the plan. But most of the philosophist perversion of Bakonu's thoughts came more than a century after his death.
He talks a lot about... he's very vague, as one would be. Not vague, I guess, but he talks in jargon. Some of his lines... excuse me. Some of his lines actually... Like the multitudes bit. He says a variety of multitudes. Under normal circumstances, that doesn't make sense. That's like a number of multiples, or it doesn't make sense. But multitudes there has a very specific meaning in his religion. And he says, he talks about things like either in hyperboles, which is like the standing in contradiction to almost everything we know to be true, and saying outright that it's a false religion. That's the dogma speaking, I suppose. But then this contradiction to almost everything we know to be true must mean something else, because all he's saying is it's all wrong, almost. That's all he's saying. And he just says it in a different way, because that's not quite what he's saying. He means something else, I think. Any ideas where we can find someone who speaks French in this colony?
I've been thinking on that. There's a former infamous philosopher scholar who fled Terra 2 some years ago. He's an expert on Baconu. He's also who told me of the journal's presence in Emerald Vale. If anyone in this colony could translate that book, it would be him.
Emerald Vale? Oh, right, of course. The book is in Emerald Vale, not the guy. There's something else in there. That might be why he's referring to... A former what now?
You caught me. Listen, the OSI frowns on fraternization with philosophists. I'd like to keep my associations with our scholar friend quiet.
That sounds like a good lead, but how do we find him?
That's a good question. We should start on the Groundbreaker. It's where I'd go if I wanted to get off Terra 2. Great place to pick up a ride to Hephaestus, Scylla, even Monarch. All I need is access to a data cartridge from the security terminal. Their easily hackable system keeps a registry of all crew manifests for both arrivals and departures.
How will a crew manifest help us track down the scholar friend, or your scholar friend?
I'll comb the last 6 months of departure manifests to track the philosophist's off-world destination.
How is that a simple Vicar happens to be such a highly skilled hacker?
Before I transferred to Edgewater, I had a wealth of time to develop certain, secular skills during my years serving a particular penitentiary flock. I meditated, led sermons, provided guidance to the inmates as needed, of course. I also played prison yard tossball and taught myself a bit about computronic security systems.
And that explains the tossball thing that he has on his table. Sounds good, let's go.
Thank you, Captain.
You're going now? What? Nope, he's just gonna check on his really cool books.
By verity, by strength. What are we contemplating today?
It seems quite trusting of you to just sign on without knowing anything about me.
I have run headlong into too many walls in my pursuit of the truth. This book is my last hope, and you were my only hope of getting it translated.
Makes sense.
What about you? What's your story?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was a colonist on the Hope. A scientist named Wells saved me.
And how did he do that?
He stole my body from the Hope at the edge of the colony and thawed me out.
Well, you do seem different than every other colonist. Let's pretend for the moment I believe you. What are you going to do now?
I'm helping him recover more of the chemicals he needed to save the rest of the colonists.
That seems a dangerous proposition. Why risk your life now that it's been returned to you?
I was sort of coming at it from the other perspective. Now that my life has been returned to me, I suppose I should... It's more of an obligation to use it. Isn't it? It's kind of... It's like my life is not just my own. But if I think about it, it's interesting. I mean, from a gameplay perspective, of course, this doesn't matter. This is a pointless quest. Because it's the main quest, shut up. But from a personal perspective, I sort of... I think it serves... I think the game does a good job in giving me a motivation to do the main quest, which is always a problem. Like, some RPGs don't actually give you a very good motivation to do the main quest. I specifically remember one of my favorite RPGs of all time, Baldur's Gate 2, as a very weak main quest, in the sense, or motivation for the main quest rather, not very main quest at all, especially for the time. But for motivation in and of itself, it's really shabby, because you can have characters that don't have the motivation, and you can make a character that just doesn't want that. And for this, I suppose you also can make a character, but from a instinctual perspective, it works well, I think. It's just in my instincts, I mean. I had family on the Hope. My friends are on the Hope. See, that's also a point. Or I don't know. Yeah. My friends are on the Hope.
Oh, I see. You have my condolences.
Yeah. So let's talk about this personal quest of yours.
Of course. Are you ready to break into security on the Groundbreaker?
No, not just... Yeah, that's the plan. But I can't do anything, so it's
Yes,
interesting.
you caught me ruminating again. Guilty as charged.
Don't worry about it.
What's occupying your thoughts?
Was he talking? Was he supposed to be talking when I talked to him? Vicar... No, that's me telling him to go away. Okay, well, good stuff. So we need to talk to Ada now about Sam. Maybe I can talk to Parvati. She might know something about Sam too. In fact, she might be the one to fix Sam. Are these my quarters? Holographic shroud. Oh yeah. The holographic shroud projects a disguise on you and your companions that gives you access to restricted areas provided you have the correct ID cartridge for that area. Restricted areas are off limits to unauthorized personnel and otherwise result in being attacked on sight. Very... Oh my god! 19,000 experience just from that. Did I level up again? No, I did not. What? Did you see the thing up here? That yellow thing? I have a lot of experience to gain. The numbers go up fast, which is a good way to make sure that mistakes at the early game don't really have a consequence later on in the game. That's cool. What about this terminal over here? Authorized login sequence recognized. Welcome, Captain. Messages for Alex Hawthorne. Viewing messages for Hawthorne, please select the following options. Unread. Unread list from Bedford. I was sort of expecting for them to show up over here. Oh, I forgot to mention in my previous message, silly me, I'm mailing you a copy of my favorite serial, Space Adventures of Singularity Steel. It's about a dashing space pirate with a heart of, well, steel. It's not exactly board approved, so don't you go showing it around to your spacer buddies. I hope it will amuse you while you're out adventuring. Any similarities to a certain someone are entirely intentional. Wink, wink. From Udom. Udom Wingman's Wingman, Bedford. We have also the logs over here. Shrink Ray. Note to self, remember this later, no better. Ada, remind me weekly to check this log until I tell you to stop. Yes, I mean, conditionally. No, Ada, not if I'm dead. Why would you even ask me that? Back to the point, I saw in actuality with my own 2 eyes a sublimely powerful weapon in Wells's lab. Just sitting there for the... Actually, that's not... Shouldn't that be like this? Anyway, I was just sitting there for the taking. If the gray hair were to look away or forget about it, maybe, or if I had asked a smidgen more nicely. He called it a shrink ray, but wouldn't let me test that claim after I lost my temper. Said he was inspired to create the thing by the achievements of other scientists who dared to push the boundaries of human knowledge and decency laws. I had heard rumors of fantastical weapons like this one weapon, or weapons that push the boundaries of the mind and science's cutting edge, but I figured they were just stories, to be honest. Laying eyes on Wells's shrink ray firsthand is enough to make a fellow wonder if there's more to the rumors. More to be had. And then we have the hammer power over here. The last time I got sloshed, was in... I was imbibing at the Lost Hope on the Groundbreaker. Look, Udom was really free with the drinks. He seems like an okay fellow. I shamelessly got subtly eavesdropped on by... I shamelessly but subtly eavesdropped on 2 Mardets yammering on about a mad scientist some years back who had claimed he had made a huge discovery that would change the fate of the colony, like none of us had heard that one before. But here is the good part. The Mardets said the mad scientist kept yelling about the, quote, hammer's power or something similar. A strange weapon with a special power created by a crazy lab coat. Sure fits the bill. It could be another one of the weapons that inspired Wells. I'm not a big fan of the Century Gothic style font on these computers. It looks good. This is good, but it's hard to read. And I like it when it's a little bit thinner. Anyway, titled Black Market Leads. Why won't Wells just give the shrink ray to me? Blast him to the depths of the labyrinth on Tartarus and back. Let the record show I did apologize for shouting him down 5 times, but architect be damned, it's just sitting there, neglected and gathering dust. I should have commandeered it and thanked him without asking permission or breaking expensive equipment when he said it wasn't ready yet, and that even if it were, he couldn't entrust it to someone like me. What does that even mean, I ask? That I'm not trustworthy enough? That I'd use it to wipe out the good, hard-working folks of the colony like some sort of moralless psycho? I'll admit to maintaining some questionable associations, but I follow a strict code of me, myself, and mine. What's not to respect in that? Exactly. Now I have to wait until Wells forgets and thinks he's misplaced it. In the meantime, I have been tracking down occasional or additional rumors pertaining to others of these, quote, science weapons throughout Alcyon. If gossip holds true, my next step will be to check with the black market merchants on the Groundbreaker and in Fallbrook. Yeah, and we're going to the Groundbreaker for sure. And we got quests over there. Acquire Phineas's science weapons. I do want my science weapons. It's lovely, the usage of the word science. It's very rooted in tradition as well. What do we have over here? There it is. Puffball plant. So like the spores of the puffball plant cast on the wind and alighting on fresh soil, we put down new roots. From Adelaide. I think I pronounced her name right this time around. I'm not really sure. Did I came from above? I did indeed. Like an angel from the sky. Not really. Yeah, not really. Can I change my face? Maybe I can change my face a little bit. Not that it matters, because we never see it, so... yeah, it doesn't matter. Hey, Ada. What's up? I think it's time for us to talk to her. No! Maybe.
Welcome back, Captain. How can I be of assistance?
So... do you know anything about the automechanical gathering dust in the janitor's closet?
The unit is a cleaning SAM. Hawthorne brought it on board some cycles ago, I'm sure with the intent to modify it, but I've never seen it up and running. Alex likely recorded progress notes detailing his efforts to modify SAM. If you check the terminal in your captain's quarters, we may be able to determine what work remains in order for SAM to properly operate.
I was just there. It didn't have anything. I assume you spawned them in there? Oh, Ada. Got a minute to talk?
I have lots of minutes. Many minutes. Unlimited minutes, perhaps. Providing an adequate power source, I can function indefinitely.
Really? What if you don't have a power source?
I prefer to think of it as being in a state of slumber, perhaps for an indefinite duration of time. Do you think that is what it's like for the colonists on the Lost Hope?
I guess so.
When I simulate myself in such a scenario, I do not find it to be desirable. I think my self-preservation protocols incline me to desire the alternative.
I'm sure that is the reason why you do not find it to be desirable. And what might that alternative be?
Traveling the system with you, Captain.
Oh, aren't you the sweetest? That didn't help your last captain much.
I assure you, not for a lack of trying. Captain Hawthorne did not like to listen to my suggestions. In that way, he was a lot like you.
Oi!
As you may be aware, Captain Alex Hawthorne was a smuggler of some repute. I failed to predict the likely outcome of his reckless behavioral patterns.
Oh, he was a guy.
I should have predicted that. In our travels together, Alex liked to pass time by, as he called it, tinkering to improve my design.
Huh. Also, yeah, she broke that thing about me being Alex, so that was just a little joke at the beginning. We both know I'm not Alex Hawthorne, right?
Oh, I know you are not the same Captain Alex Hawthorne who died in Emerald Vale due to excessive internal and external bleeding. I required you to assume Hawthorne's identity in order to sync your commands to my interpretation protocols. I've since registered you as the captain of the Unreliable. You're welcome to continue lying about your identity if you wish, but I know the truth.
I will. It's... Don't sass me, Ada. No. It's sort of a mixture of things. You're a very strange computer, but I like you.
I am relieved to hear it, Captain.
Mm-hmm. Really?
No, but I am programmed to put you at ease by saying so.
So you're not relieved to hear it? I don't understand. Anyway, have there been other captains of this ship?
If you mean, was Captain Hawthorne my first? Yes, he was.
That's not what I meant. Well, let's talk about something else.
How can I be of assistance?
I'm in the mood for some entertainment.
Certainly, Captain. What would you like to hear?
A joke immediately. Immediately. A joke. Of course it is. Ask your assistant if you have an assistant, I guess. I suppose you have to. Well, unless you don't have a smartphone. Because I think all smartphones have an assistant. I'm trying to think of some that don't. I'm pretty sure all of them do. So ask your assistant for a joke and see what they tell you. Anyway, yeah, Ada, tell me a joke.
Why are obtuse angles so depressed? Because they are never right.
No, I suppose that's... Okay. Ada, play my favorite song.
Now playing a Spacer's Choice advertisement jingle.
It's not the best choice. It's Spacer's Choice.
That's not my favorite song.
Everyone in Halcyon is contractually obligated to label this or another board-certified jingle their favorite song.
Okay, well, that's enough for now.
As you wish, Captain. I must comply with all direct orders.
So you say. I'd like to learn more about the colony.
What part of the colony would you like to discuss?
Terra 2.
Where in Terra 2?
Emerald Vale in Edgewater.
Edgewater is the sparkling county seat of Emerald Vale, or it was when first built. Since then, neglect and time have worn away her shiny veneer. The town is near the coordinates where Captain Hawthorne died. It would not be unfortunate if something, like say a plague, were to wipe Emerald Vale from the face of the planet.
Oh. That explains why she enjoyed the fact that I sort of ruined the town. She bears resentment against Emerald Vale because Captain Hawthorne died close by. which is a weird reason, but she's a computer, so what does she know? What do you think of the townspeople?
You mean the ones who did not answer my distress call with medical assistance, but instead came to issue my injured captain a parking ticket? I'm sure they are wonderful humans who don't deserve to be wiped out by starvation or a devastating plague.
It's a good point. That's a good point. How is Edgewater faring since we left?
Since you diverted power to the deserters, the botanical lab is thriving. However, Emerald Vale's cannery shut down, leading to a total collapse of Edgewater's population. Thank you, Captain.
That's cheeky smile. Also, what does it mean to collapse of population? Collapse of copulation is a different thing. I want to ask you about somewhere else then.
Of course. What part of the colony would you like to discuss?
I think the place where we're going next, the Groundbreaker, would be a good place. Now, actually, let's ask about Phineas's orbital lab. Yeah, look at that. So I'm not 100% sure on the grammatical rules of English. But it could be then when we saw Wells' well, that couldn't be just interpreted as a typo in game for sure, because it's a character in game that wrote that email. But the point is, it could be that the apostrophe, the possessive apostrophe, or any apostrophe for that matter, is always just an apostrophe without an S if it comes after an S. So Phineas, which is a singular noun because it's a proper noun, would have that because it ends with an S. However, it could be that the possessive, specifically I'll say any apostrophe, but it's not any apostrophe, because if it's like for is, you put the S either way. Even if it's plural or if it has an S or whatever, you always put the S in there. And actually, if it is plural, it's not for is. So it also, anyway, the point is, I think this is like this if it ends with an S, rather than being a singular noun. Because it could also be that it ends with an apostrophe without an S after if it's a plural noun, which in this case is not. So what I think that happened there with Wells with many S's and with Phineas over here with a single one is that it's multiple writers and the editors didn't catch it because they're not obsessive as I am. So editors, be obsessive with things like this. Yeah. So tell me about Phineas's orbital. It's still pronounced the same way. That's the thing, I think. Anyway, the orbital lab.
Yes. As Dr. Wells is a wanted outlaw, he built his laboratory into an asteroid. Orbital destinations can be challenging to land on. His more so than most.
What? Why is that?
The outlaw scientist known as Dr. Phineas V. Wells has taken a measure of precautions to make the lab undetectable to those hunting him. Even knowing the location, my systems resist my orders to go where I instruct them.
Really? So she knows the location, but we can't go there. What do you know about Phineas?
There is a bounty on his head.
Phineas,
one
whatever.
with a markedly high reward amount. Shall I engage the laser weapons system?
You have those? Make it so. That's a reference, I think, to Star Trek that I've never seen, but I know that from StarCraft, because the battlecruiser is... Anyway, no, don't do that.
A sensible choice, as we do not have any laser weapons.
That's what I wanted to ask, to be honest, but also, that's funny. Let's talk about something else. Somewhere else.
Of course. What part of the colony would you like to discuss?
So I think the colony is Halcyon. That's the name of the thing, and it's multiple planets, maybe. The Groundbreaker.
We're clear to dock with the Groundbreaker, if that's your desired destination.
I haven't looked
if
at the
we're
thing.
going there, please be sure all docking forms have been filed in triplicate and fees have been paid. The Mardettes take their docking laws quite seriously.
I'll make sure to do that, maybe. Yeah, I haven't looked at the computer yet. We started the episode there, I think, but we have other things to do. You can take care of that for us, right?
I can, yes. Let me add that to my list of 1,435,498 tasks I am simultaneously executing in order to run our ship.
Great, thanks.
You are more than welcome, Captain.
And without the lip, did you see that little second line? Flat face right there. Well, give me the spiel on the Groundbreaker.
The Groundbreaker was Halcyon's original colony ship. It has since been repurposed as a service station in the Lagrange point of the system. Freighters often deliver or pick up goods from the Groundbreaker en route to other destinations. The city ship hosts an array of cargo bays, factories, housing sections, and more. Many of Halcyon's companies maintain office spaces with stationed representatives in what is considered a truly neutral territory within the system. I have filed the required docking forms in triplicate, and fees have been paid.
Well, thank you. I have not talked about everything else, but that's going to be that for today. Goodbye.
Take care. I require a functioning captain to run the ship.
I hope I'm functioning enough. But we're out of time for the day, so we're going to have to function a little bit more in the next episode. For right now, I'm Colonel RPG, and this has been The Outer Worlds. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and if you did, go ahead and leave a comment. Like the video if you want to see the next episode come out sooner rather than later. But above all, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next episode. Bye-bye.